back to the illusion. I'm sitting here and I'm reading the Bible a little bit, and I'm thinking about some stuff, but I kind of wanted to just update, make a video, and just talk about some stuff. I don't really have that much planned to say, but I'm watching all the events taking place around the world and stuff like that, and it's just amazing how far we've come into this. Ever since 2013, when I saw the Pope get in, and I knew the prophecy of Saint Malachi and some other stuff that came in, which lined up really well in Revelation 17 about the false prophet and his timeline, and from the Lantern Treaty in 1929, and how that would be the false prophet, the eighth one in a line of kings, which the popes were given kingship during the Lantern Treaty when they were made their own country, the Vatican. And I've been watching it, and that's when I went out to talk to my friends and now talk to you guys and everybody else that I've ever ran into. But I'm just amazed how far this whole thing is, this length of time has been, and still nothing has happened yet. And it makes me kind of overview the whole thing about the times during the 80s. I've heard Eli Marzulli talk before about how they had a big thing where they thought that the rapture was going to happen and stuff like that. And I just want to point out why this time that we're in right now is so different than any other time. And, you just look at the different timelines of things, and will it continue on? Will we look back at this years later or somebody else and say, why did those guys think it was going to happen then when now it lines up? If we possibly get so far in the future, it's like the Jetsons or something. And it's not going to be like that. Everything that was seen by the prophets and John and everybody in the future, there were advancements and things like that that they didn't have. But so far in that it's some sort of AI running the whole show and soulless bodies and everything else. No, it's not going to go that far. And there is multiple reasons for that, and most of them is Jesus is speaking to people. And yeah, there's a lot of fake people out there and stuff like that, and people are talking about their dreams, saying that Jesus gave it to them. And I don't listen to every single one of them. People can just as easily go watch a movie, and it has to do with abductions or nuclear explosions and end of the world stuff. And as soon as they do, they have a dream about that at night. That doesn't mean it was coming from God. Your body has a way of, or your mind has a way of taking things and putting them into your dreams to access them and do what it does. We don't know exactly why we always have dreams and stuff like that, but so I understand that. And I know a lot of people do that. They go watch stuff and then they say it was a dream from God, and I'm pretty careful about that. I have dreams every night and stuff like that, but I'm not sharing them. And I sat on the Rapture vision for about 3.5 years before I even brought it out, and that was because I want to make sure, and I'd already gone over it thousands and thousands of times, but as it unfolded and it kept becoming more of a reality, I definitely felt that I should share it, and especially since there's nothing like it and it was so real. And now more of it just keeps coming. The same way that when God talks to you, it's like a well gets tapped and it's just endless. The different things where it comes into play later, or you learn different things from it. It's amazing. So yeah, I don't take a lot of that stuff serious, but a lot of them are serious. And as well as people being told that he's coming soon, and people that have had near-death experiences or died and gone to heaven. And he's not messing around. He's serious about it. So this really is that time, and how it is coinciding with things like the Malachi prophecy and Israel being a nation for the length of time that it has from 1948, coming back and fulfilling things like the Valley of Dry Bones from Ezekiel 36 and stuff like that. How a nation came back overnight. And them talking about the third temple and all those things that hadn't been for 2,000 years or more since the last destruction. And we're right there on the precipice of this whole thing, and you can see it come out, and it's still being held back. I told you guys in 2009, I heard that Obama was supposed to come out with 5 other alien races and introduce them to the world, and it got shut down last minute. And all the news networks, the major ones, had already dedicated 27 minutes of time supposedly to do this. And And I've also heard that there are ships, and I don't doubt it at all from some of the stuff that I've seen on pictures and things like that. Some of the stuff that what they call aliens out there in space have ships that are 60 miles wide or bigger and other crazy stuff. So that's why I'm against the whole Project Bluebeam. I think that is a huge psyop. And there's no need to even have a Project Bluebeam, because the stuff that's actually out there is way more mind-blowing. What they could holograph, they wouldn't need to. They could just show the real UFOs and things like that. So it's crazy. And I'm just talking here. I'm just kind of getting some stuff out there, and that's what I really want to do. Just kind of update and talk a little bit. So I don't know if I'm really going in a direction with this. So I might jump around a little bit. So excuse me for that, but. I know you guys like to hear me just talk anyway sometimes, so that's kind of what I'm doing. But the time that we're in, it really is that time, and it's amazing how far it's gone. And as next year rolls in around May 14th, it'll be 73 years in our Gregorian calendar, solar calendar, that Israel's been a nation. Will the rapture happen before that or at that time? We don't know. Because we've calculated in a theory that, if it's going to be under 80 years with the prophecy of a generation, 70 years or 80 years by strength, that it would fall into that in correlation with Jesus speaking of the fig tree in a reference to Israel. All right. And when it starts to bloom and blossom, and this generation won't pass away till you see all these things. Will it extend? Could it go all the way up where all these things could happen within 80 years and the tribulation will stand outside of that? That would be an awful thing to happen. And I'm going to shoot that down right now, whether it does or not. As of right now, I would not look at that, and that is because of the Pope's age. If he's the false prophet and the way things are, I'd have to give it credit for it happening right now. What's very interesting is this spring coming up around May 14th, in that timeline, will be exactly 7 years since I was given the vision, and that's kind of interesting. If it was like a 7-year warning, that'd be interesting for that to play out. And I wouldn't be surprised if something like that did happen, but right now we don't know. We just watch it and we wait. And it's crazy, but we know that it's getting close, and we feel it. I don't think it's going to happen this fall, like I already told you guys, and I'm just being fair about that. If it did, it would be totally amazing, but I don't think that it is. And there's too many people out there that when I've heard their visions, it's like, that sounds pretty real, and it feels pretty real too compared to others and stuff like that. And it was always nice weather out on a nice day, kind of like spring, kind of like summer, kind of like exactly what I saw. And when we start getting late into the fall like that, the weather is not in the direction that it felt like in that vision. And it really has got me pushing more towards the spring or an early summer or summertime event when it happens. And there's a couple things that, and you guys know, I've been fair with this. I've told you right from the start, I am comparing it to my vision. If it doesn't happen like my vision, then everything that's come so far is just amazing, and it's only been to lead me on to this point. But so far, all of it has played out perfectly. And even with the 2 mile wide UFOs, only to hear that there are tons of them around the earth that are cloaked right now like that, and it's like, wow, no surprise. And I hear that 6 years later, it's like, wow, mind blowing. More of it just comes out, and that's amazing. But I take it very serious, unless God says, no, absolutely not. I just want you to have that experience, because that's exactly what it's going to be like, what it's going to feel like. I've never felt joy like that in my entire life. Then that would be fine too, but he hasn't. In fact, it's just the opposite. When I prayed and asked about it and told him, God, it's so real, could you just tell me? I got that confirmation on the bridge while I'm talking to him at the same time at night. And I told him, I was like, this is right where my stepdad was. It was right here. Boom. And that silver Volkswagen Bug was right there on the spot, exactly at the same moment that I said, right here, right now, boom, and asking for a confirmation and talking about that dream. And it was the same one from the dream, and I'm like, that's crazy. How is that even possible? And it was at nighttime, so I couldn't see the car that was coming on, and that's what it was. And I felt that was an extreme confirmation. I was like, wow, I'm going to take that as it is. So I really look at it, and there's little minor details. I've gone over this thing thousands of times that really point that it is going to be actually exactly event for event. And I am up here in North Idaho in Sandpoint area again after I had moved away, and now I'm back, and time keeps ticking away and getting closer. We'll find out though in spring if God's going to move this past. If it does, the tribulation could extend past 2028. We don't know. Things could still happen within this time period, or it might fulfill it exactly to the day. We just don't know. And why I'm talking about this, I hear you guys talk, or there's a lot of people that talk about, no man knows the day of the rapture. It could happen at any time. I believe that's a great way to live. And in Matthew 24, Jesus says, let's go, we're in Matthew 24, and I'm going to just kind of go from verse 37. But of that day and hour, no man, but of the days of Noah were, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. From that day, they were, before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Then two shall be in the field, one shall be taken and the other left. Two women shall be grinding in the mill, one shall be taken, the other left. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Lord doth come. All right? And, from there for years, people have kind of moved that into, it can happen at any time, we're always supposed to be watching. And if I haven't said it out loud before, I want to make the point. I do not believe that it's a spontaneous event that it could have happened at any time. And I have a reason for that. I'm not just going to say that or say that I heard it from somebody, because I haven't heard it from anybody. This is what I think. And I have my reasons for it, and I think there's enough scriptural evidence to point to that to being an actual real thing. And I want to point that out while we're talking right now. So if you do have a reason why you say no, it could happen any time, please show me your verses and reasoning behind it, and don't just say my pastor told me, okay? Because I would like to know. And it doesn't matter, because it's not like a saving event or anything like that, and you absolutely should live a life where it could happen any time and not lowering your guard. But is it going to happen at any time, or is it specifically timed for a certain time? And I think that it is. All right, and we were just talking about some of the things, the Valley of Dry Bones and things like that. All right, let me read a little bit here in Luke 21. Let's see here. Let's start in verse 25. And there shall be signs in the sun, the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, perplexity, the sea and waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear of looking after those things which are coming upon the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. All right, Jesus is referencing some tribulation time events and stuff like that. And remember, he is multi-dimensional. He can see all this happening at once, and he's very, very genius about the way that he speaks, where he doesn't leave an exact detail on things, but he does leave it, and then years later, at a certain time, it can unfold. He's a master of speaking. It's very incredible to listen to him talk. And then shall they see the Son of Man coming in the clouds with power and great glory. I believe they're speaking of the second coming here. Could he be possibly also hinting in a multi-dimensional way of the rapture? We won't know until after it happens if it's a seen event. If it is, that would be incredible. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. All right. I want to go a little bit further. Behold the fig tree and all the trees, when they now shoot forth, you shall see, or you see and know that your own selves, that summer is nigh and at hand. So likewise, when you see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of God is nigh and at hand. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass away, till all be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my word shall not pass away. And take heart to yourselves, lest any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness, cares of your life, so that the day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come upon them that dwell upon the face of the whole earth. Watch ye further, and pray always that you may be counted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass and stand before the Son of God. So in that reference right there, shall we always be looking and stuff? Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, though, he also warns us, when you see these things come to pass, then look up, for your redemption draweth nigh. All right? If these things weren't coming to pass back in time 2,000 years ago, or any time in between, then looking up for your redemption drawing nigh would not be taking place. But they are taking place right now. We are seeing it. We're getting every single one fulfilled, down to the T. All right? And it really took off with Israel becoming a nation in 1948. Okay, so this is a real hope. This is a real joy for those of us that are looking. So now, in this time, should we be looking up? Absolutely, 100%. So those that are looking up and expecting this fall, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that at all. And I pray that it doesn't. Of course, I always hope that it does at any time. If it's going to play out like my vision that I had, which is a real possibility for me, especially considering how much of it is real, that I don't look at it this fall. Would it be great if he came back anyways? Yes, absolutely. But it is for a specific time, and it does correlate, as in Second Peter, speaking of a day being as 1,000 years, and the way that he set up a week for 1,000 years, or for 7 days, my bad, and how we're in a 6,000 time period now, and then for 1,000 years during the millennial reign, we come back and rule with Christ before he remakes everything. But in that total, it becomes 7,000 years. So there is a time plot in that. So could the rapture have happened 1,000 years ago, 1,200 years ago? I'm going to have to say no, it's not, because it is a timed event. It's not something that can happen at any time. Let's go to Second Thessalonians, and it's the second chapter. And I'm gonna just start chapter 2. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of your Lord Jesus Christ, and by our gathering together unto him, that ye be not soon shaken in mind or in trouble, neither by spirit nor word, nor by any letter from us, as the day of Christ is at hand. The reason he mentions letter is because there was a false letter that was sent out to deceive the Thessalonians, and he was addressing this situation, saying that they had missed it, and the rapture or the tribulation had already started and stuff like that. So, some of the same stuff that's happening today. People say it's already started. We're in the tribulation right now because their footsie hurts and everything else, or they lost a son or a daughter, and it's like the tribulation started. It's like it doesn't revolve around you. Pull yourself out, all right, from your vanity, from your self-obsessed life, and look at things from a third perspective. If you can do that, if you do it more often, you'll be more fair in your judgments. Not only the way when you're judging others, but other people. You can look at yourself and be like, I was wrong in this situation. It's a good way to live, okay? Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that God has said it in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. All right, right there. Speaking of the Antichrist, if the Antichrist has come on the scene, if you've seen him, then yeah, you're in the tribulation. But that hasn't happened, so you're not in the tribulation. You know that right now. And by the scene, if it turns out to be Obama or something like that, in action, actually getting to do what he wants to do and not being stopped. Back in 2013, they were trying to do RFID chip people in Obamacare, and the whole system crashed and stuff like that. 2009, he was trying to bring aliens to the world and show everybody 5 races. The thing got shut down. Each different time they're about to execute an operation and get shut down, they wanted COVID to go through, starting in 2019, so all their plans could go forward and they could move from it. What happened? It's dying off fast, unbelievably fast. I got it back in July, actually. Me and my partner were, that's a different story. But I'm going to just say it really fast. Me and my partner got it, and it only lasted a few days after we had went to a house with some people that got it, and they told us afterwards that they had been tested for it. And we did everything we could to watch other people, but my partner lived with the boss and his family. And it lasted only a couple days. We felt it was in our lungs, and then it was gone. It was like having a high fever. And not only did it die off with us, nobody else in the house that he was around, including his girlfriend that he, is with, got it. Nobody got it at all. And the generational die for the thing is just incredibly fast. And I think they knew that. That's why they started dirtying up the swabs that were testing people, so the people that are going to get tested were actually getting it. But the die rate on the thing is just incredibly fast, not how it originally started. And I'm going to give all glory to God for that, because he's the one. They thought they had something really special that it was going to be an abomination. And they had everything planned for it, but they don't have anything in the back door right now, so they're still trying to push it, and that's why they're running it. That's why they're doing the masks and everything else. But they have nothing to go with it, because it wasn't as deadly as they were hoping when they created it, okay? And that's the hand of God again. Exactly what I'm referencing. They've tried to make this thing roll out a few times. I'm talking about the tribulation, and it gets shut down. It's in God's time. And so they have tried. All right, so the Antichrist coming on the scene in this reference right here, it's going to be allowed at God's time. And that only points more to what I'm talking about. Does the rapture happen at just any time, or is it specifically targeted for a certain time? And is it in correlation around when the tribulation starts? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's what's holding everything back right now with God. All right. Okay, remember ye not that when I was with you I told you these things, and know ye now, and now ye know, so I read that backwards, what withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work, and only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way, talking about the restrainer. And then shall the wicked one be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the Spirit and by his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Speaking of the Antichrist, okay? So that is holding the Antichrist back. So if they've tried to do this before, he who is holding it back, the restrainer, is still holding it back. So what happens if the restrainer is removed? All right? Because when does he go out of the way? When we get taken. All right? In the rapture. So if the restrainer is holding back until the rapture happens, okay, and that tribulation can't start, then that's the whole thing holding him back. So when people say the rapture could have happened 1,200 years ago or 1,000 years ago, as soon as it does, the tribulation is going to start. The restrainer will be out of the way, and evil will be allowed to play its course. All right? If evil is allowed to play its course, and the gospel has not been preached to all four corners of the earth like Jesus wanted, can it happen at any time? The answer is no. First, it has to be preached to the world, exactly like it has been, all right? And then the restrainer, after things are ready and it's at its time, 6,000 years, so if the 7,000-year plan comes out, then it can happen. If it was done before, it would be 5,000 years, okay? Because as soon as it does, it's going to be so bad that Jesus even mentions, if he doesn't cut the time short, that no flesh should be left alive. They'll destroy the earth in just 7 years. All flesh will be killed. That's what they want to do. They want to destroy everybody because it's being ruled by Satan and fallen angels, the whole abomination. Yes, there's going to be judgments from God, but the time will be incredibly short. So if it were to happen years ago, the rapture, would time go on? No, absolutely not. They're going to be out killing Christians, doing whatever they can to completely annihilate them. So the time has to be specifically picked. All right? Things have to, in prophecy, take place, including the Valley of Dry Bones, Israel becoming a nation again, the third temple about to go, the peace deal that takes place. If you're in a situation 1,000 years ago and there's no way for countries around there to be in peace, then, and let's say the rapture were happen, but that peace couldn't happen, there's not going to be peace when the restrainer is removed. It's going to be the opposite. When the restrainer is removed and the deal and stuff is taking place, it's only to last for a short time before it all goes down. So everything about after the rapture happens is going to be in destruction. So if things need to take place in like prophecy, and there's multiple different prophecies that need to come to pass, or that have come to pass, but they hadn't been in the past until now, then the answer is that the rapture would not happen before that. It's just because if it did, then none of the prophecy would come to pass. And Jesus mentions that everything in the book will come to pass, like he said, before that generation, and within that time that he speaks of. And so the answer is on that, why I look at that it's a specific time and not just any time that you just throw out. The rapture can happen at any time, like so many people have said. I believe we should live a life like it can happen at any time where, we're always looking up, and especially in the time that we're in right now, because it really can. There has been almost everything fulfilled, and other stuff is going to be fulfilled, like the building of the temple and stuff like that. I believe happens about 7 months after the tribulation starts, according to Daniel 8, all right? And speaking of the 2,300 days that the Gentiles walk on it, which is just short of 7 years, okay? So, is it for a specific time? And I believe the answer is yes. All right, and I think there's enough proof that shows that the rapture does that. And another one is the Jewish correlation, the Jewish wedding correlation. The celebration is for 7 days, a week. And when we go up to celebrate with Jesus, it will be for 7 years, or known as Daniel's 70th week, a time period of a week. And the snatching away happens right before that. So does it have to happen right at the time, right before the tribulation is about to start? I believe it's in a very close proximity. I don't think that there is a gap between, like some have stated before, where the rapture can happen and then some time might go on where things get fulfilled. I don't think so at all, because that would take away from the alignment that is presented in the Bible of a Jewish wedding. It wouldn't be a a 9 or an 8 or a 12-week or a 12-day Jewish feast or a celebration for a wedding. It's 7 days. And in correlation with it lining up with years the same way that Daniel does, then the answer would be no. It's going to be in a very close proximity. There isn't going to be a gap. So if the rapture were going to happen in spring and the tribulation were to start in fall, is that in close enough proximity? Yeah, I absolutely think so. Could it be even closer where it happens within the same week? Tribulation is going to start in the fall and the rapture happens a few weeks before it. That could be. But if it does happen earlier, then things that break loose like Gog and Magog and other things like that, they very well could happen within that short little time span. That could happen, like World War III and stuff. It could really get things into position for a worldwide peace deal, or whatever this peace deal is that's going to happen with the Antichrist. So I think it's in close proximity. I think it is at a certain timed event. I think it correlates with things like a Jewish wedding, so that it's for a 7-year time span. I believe that prophecy needed to be fulfilled first, including preaching to the four corners of the earth so the whole world knows it like they do now, but they wouldn't have 1,000 years ago or more. It has gone everywhere. It's gone out. Israel's become a nation now. There's prophecy of the false prophet, which wouldn't have happened 50 years ago or anything like that, because it still hadn't been played out yet. But all these things are played out, and now it's ready to rock and roll. So do I think it's the time? Yes, I absolutely do. I don't think it's going to extend years in the future. I don't think it's 20 years away. It would pull away from certain prophecies that are happening right now. So I think it's the time. I really do. And I think that next year is really possibly a deadline on it. If it does go past it, we'll go from there. But right now, that is what I'm looking at. And I'm correlating that with what I saw in my vision of it being a nice time and not a wintertime event or something like that. And what the Bible speaks of and points to, that the rapture is very close proximity. It's a restraint. It's an escape plan, an escape to get out before troubles come, the tribulation. And so that's why it's our blessed hope and why we look for it, and why when you start to see all these things come to pass like they are right now, the big ones, and we can tell the difference between the 80s or some other things like that. We know that it's really happening right now. We have things that are taking place on a level, on a scale, and with events and world powers and things like that only are lining up with the Bible now and not in the past, not around World War II or things like that. There were still things that hadn't taken place, including Israel becoming a nation and stuff like that. All right, so when people say that, that doesn't line up. Not like it does now. Now it really is. All right, and if we were to pull ourselves out and look from the future back at this time and say, oh yeah, these things hadn't taken place, we can honestly say, no, those things have taken place and they are taking place right now. All right, so is it a future event? No, I don't think so. We really are in the time, and when Jesus gives people messages in death experiences and things like that, or what he showed me and what he's told me, we could take it to heart. It's absolutely something we can take to the bank. And it is a timed event. It's going to line up so well with Scripture and certain things, including idioms and stuff like that, that Jesus has already in the Bible. That's going to be perfect. But is it something you can just throw out that it could happen at any time between here and now? No, I don't think so at all. And I think that I've pointed out enough for my case to make that point, that it does happen at a certain time. It's specifically picked. We might not know exactly what it is. God does perfectly. It stands outside of time. But it absolutely is something that is perfectly planned at a certain time, and it's going to correlate closely in proximity with the start of the tribulation, because when we go, the restrainer goes, and then evil's allowed to run its course, and then they really can bring out the man of sin, all right, the Antichrist, and get things rolling. But right now, he's held back. Everything they go to do, it gets shut down for whatever reason, and we know that that's the restrainer, that's God holding things back. But it's so close, he's giving people the last little bit of time, but he's also lining up perfectly so Scripture's fulfilled down to the days, the things that they wouldn't have known about, like 173,880 days between when to fulfill Daniel's timeline of the 69 weeks of to go out and rebuild Jerusalem, and then Jesus riding in, and how it lines up to the day. There's days that we don't know about, what we will learn later, that they didn't know about then, that now we can look at. It's the same thing, and it's going to line up absolutely perfect, and it's very soon. So it's very, that's exciting. That is something to keep your head up about. No, it didn't happen this year. if it does, that would be great. I don't think that it will, but it's nothing to get down about. It's something we can still look up and be excited for. And we know that he's coming soon, and it gives us a little bit more time to still talk to people. That's what we're always trying to do. We are called to go out there and witness, and in any way that you can, because ultimately what you're trying to do is save somebody's life from the fires of hell and everything else. And you want to help people as much as you possibly can because you care about them in the first place. It's because you care that gives you the drive to do it. And so push wherever you can and continue to do that. But this is just a little bit that I've had on my mind. I've kind of rambled a little bit, but I wanted to point out, especially for people that always say it could happen at any time, and why I don't push that that's really the direction it is at all. I think it's for a specific time, and we can live like it happened anytime. There's nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, I encourage you to, because that's how we should be living. But it will be at a specific time that fulfills Scripture and all the prophecies at once, and it's going to be absolutely perfect. But that's just a little something I wanted to get out, and maybe it'll help you guys or not. But I know you also just like to hear, to get your mind off things, because the way the world is going, it's pretty bad out there. It really is, and it's only getting worse. And we're all watching elections and things like that, seeing what direction it's going to go. But whatever direction it's going, or whatever way they do it, it is on a planned course towards destruction, and that is the way it's going. But be a good cheer. Jesus overcame the world. We're with Him. And so when things when they get to the point that they need to, we're getting out of here. Until then, we live for Him, and we don't lose heart. And hang in there and keep looking up, all right? All right, that's just a little message I wanted to get out, and hopefully it helps you guys some. But God bless, and we'll talk to you later. See you next time on the Nation. Bye.